The heavy rain pounded against the corrugated metal roof of the small clinic in General Santos City, creating a rhythmic symphony that had become the soundtrack to Dr. Marilou Cayetano's evening shifts. At 52, she had grown accustomed to the monsoon season's relentless downpours, but tonight felt different somehow. The electricity had been flickering on and off for hours, and her emergency generator was running low on fuel. Despite the challenging conditions, she remained at her post, knowing that in a community like this, medical emergencies didn't wait for better weather. The modest clinic, with its peeling paint and makeshift furniture, stood as a beacon of hope in one of the city's poorest neighborhoods. Dr. Cayetano had established this practice 15 years ago, after completing her medical residency in Manila. While her classmates had pursued lucrative positions in private hospitals or moved abroad, she felt called to serve the families who couldn't afford proper health care. Her clinic operated on a simple principle. No one would be turned away, regardless of their ability to pay. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as she organized her limited supplies, mentally calculating how long her medications would last. The pharmaceutical companies rarely delivered to areas like this, and she often had to make difficult choices about which patients to prioritize. Her worn hands, scarred from years of treating patients under less than ideal conditions, moved methodically as she prepared for what she expected to be another quiet evening. The sound of urgent knocking broke through the rain's monotonous drumming. Dr. Cayetano glanced at the old wall clock. It was nearly midnight. Emergency visits at this hour usually meant serious complications, often involving patients who had delayed seeking treatment due to financial constraints. She had learned not to hesitate in these moments, knowing that every second could make the difference between life and death. As she moved toward the door, wiping her hands on her faded medical coat, she wondered what challenge awaited her. The neighborhood had been experiencing an outbreak of dengue fever, and several children had required immediate attention in recent weeks. Her heart rate quickened slightly, not from fear, but from the familiar surge of adrenaline that came with the territory of being a doctor in an underserved community. The door swung open to reveal two figures silhouetted against the stormy night. The first was a well-dressed man in his 30s, his expensive clothes now soaked from the rain. His face showed deep concern as he supported his companion, whose condition was immediately apparent to Dr. Cayetano's trained eye. The second man, shorter in stature and wearing simple clothing, was clearly in distress, his face pale and his breathing labored. Doctor. Cayetano didn't recognize either visitor, but the urgency of the situation left no time for introductions. The well-dressed man, who introduced himself only as Boo Boy, explained that his friend had been experiencing severe chest pains and difficulty breathing for the past hour. The patient, who appeared to be in his early 40s, was conscious but clearly struggling. His companion's genuine worry was evident in every gesture and word. Without hesitation, Dr. Cayetano guided them into her small examination room. The patient's condition suggested a possible cardiac event, and she knew that the nearest fully equipped hospital was over an hour away through the flooded streets. The decision to treat him here, with her limited resources, was both necessary and risky. She had faced similar situations before, but each case brought its own unique challenges and uncertainties. As she began her preliminary examination, Dr. Cayetano noticed something distinctive about her patient. Despite his obvious pain, there was a quiet strength about him, a resilience that spoke of someone who had faced adversity before. His calloused hands suggested years of physical labor, and his respectful demeanor impressed her. Even in his vulnerable state, he apologized for the late-night intrusion and expressed concern about her safety in treating him. The companion, Boo Boy, paced nervously in the small waiting area, periodically checking his phone and glancing toward the examination room. His expensive watch and quality clothing suggested wealth, yet he had brought his friend to this humble clinic rather than a private hospital. Dr. Cayetano found this curious but focused her attention on the immediate medical needs before her. Dr. Cayetano's years of experience kicked in as she assessed her patient's vital signs. His blood pressure was dangerously elevated, and his heart rate showed irregularities that concerned her deeply. The portable ECG machine, one of her few pieces of advanced equipment, revealed patterns consistent with acute cardiac stress. She realized she was potentially dealing with a heart attack, a condition that required immediate and intensive intervention. Working with the methodical precision that had saved countless lives over the years, she began administering the appropriate medications from her limited supply. Each decision carried weight. Her aspirin reserves were running low, and the nitroglycerin tablets were nearing their expiration date. Yet she didn't hesitate to use what was necessary, knowing that these medications could mean the difference between life and death for her patient. The generator's steady hum provided the only reliable sound, as the power grid continued to fail intermittently. Dr. Cayetano had learned to work under these conditions, but treating a potential heart attack patient required her full concentration and best resources. She monitored his response to the initial treatment, noting small improvements in his color and breathing pattern. The patient remained conscious and cooperative, following her instructions with quiet determination. Boo-Boy remained in the waiting area, his anxiety palpable as he listened to the sounds from the examination room. Occasionally, he would approach the door, but Dr. Cayetano's professional focus kept her attention entirely on her patient. She explained each step of the treatment process to both men, maintaining the transparency that had always characterized her practice. Her calm demeanor helped to reassure them both during these critical hours. As the night wore on, Dr. Cayetano administered IV fluids and continued monitoring her patient's cardiac function. The improvement was gradual but encouraging. His blood pressure began to stabilize, and the irregularities in his heart rhythm showed signs of normalizing. She knew that he wasn't completely out of danger, but the immediate crisis appeared to be passing. Throughout the long night, Dr. Cayetano maintained her watchful vigil. Every 20 minutes, she checked her patient's vital signs, adjusting his medication as needed and ensuring his comfort. The small clinic, with its sparse furnishings and flickering lights, became a sanctuary where life hung in the balance. She had converted an old examination table into a makeshift bed, using her own blankets to keep him warm in the humid night air. The patient, despite his condition, showed remarkable composure. He spoke softly about his gratitude for her care, mentioning that he had never expected to find such dedicated medical attention in what appeared to be a simple neighborhood clinic. His humility struck Dr. Cayetano as unusual. Many patients in crisis became demanding or frightened, but he remained respectful and patient throughout the treatment process. Boo-Boy had settled into an uncomfortable plastic chair, refusing doctor. Cayetano's suggestions that he find proper accommodation for the night. His unwavering loyalty to his friend impressed her, and she began to understand that their relationship went far beyond casual friendship. The way he anticipated his friend's needs and communicated with Dr. Cayetano suggested a deep bond forged through shared experiences. As dawn approached, the rain finally began to subside, and the first hints of sunlight filtered through the clinic's small windows. Dr. Cayetano felt the familiar exhaustion that came after a night of intensive patient care. But she also experienced the satisfaction of knowing her efforts had made a difference. Her patient's condition had stabilized significantly, though she knew he would need follow-up care and monitoring. The neighborhood began to show signs of life as vendors prepared for the morning market, and children made their way to school despite the flooded streets. Dr. Cayetano realized that her regular patients would soon begin arriving for their scheduled appointments, but she couldn't abandon her overnight patient until she was certain he was stable enough to be moved safely. By mid-morning, the patient's improvement was undeniable. His color had returned to normal, his breathing was steady and unlabored, and his vital signs had stabilized within acceptable ranges. Dr. Cayetano felt confident that the immediate danger had passed, though she emphasized the importance of follow-up care with a cardiologist and lifestyle modifications to prevent future episodes. The patient listened intently to her discharge instructions, asking thoughtful questions about his condition and the warning signs to watch for in the future. His genuine interest in understanding his health impressed Dr. Cayetano, who had treated many patients who showed little concern for preventive care. She provided him with a written summary of his treatment and a list of medications he would need to continue. Boo-Boy had been on his phone frequently during the morning hours, apparently making arrangements for his friend's continued care. He mentioned that they would be traveling to Manila for comprehensive cardiac evaluation at a major medical center. Dr. Cayetano felt relieved knowing that her patient would receive the specialized care he needed, though she also felt the familiar pang of wishing she could provide such services locally. As they prepared to leave, both men expressed their profound gratitude for Dr. Cayetano's care. The patient insisted on knowing how much he owed for the treatment, but she waved away his concerns about payment. Her clinic had always operated on the principle that healthcare was a basic human right, not a privilege reserved for those who could afford it. She explained that seeing him recover was payment enough. The morning sun streamed through the clinic windows as Dr. Cayetano prepared to resume her regular schedule. She had missed several hours of sleep, but the successful outcome of the emergency treatment energized her. As she cleaned and sterilized her equipment, she reflected on the night's events and felt grateful for her ability to make a difference in her community. In the days following the emergency treatment, Dr. Cayetano returned to her regular routine of treating the neighborhood's residents. Her patient load included children with respiratory infections, elderly residents managing chronic conditions, and mothers seeking prenatal care. Each case reinforced her commitment to serving this community, despite the financial challenges that came with providing free or low-cost medical care. The clinic's operating expenses continued to mount as her generator required costly repairs and her medical supplies dwindled. Dr. Cayetano had long ago stopped taking a regular salary, instead reinvesting any income back into the clinic's operations. Her personal savings, accumulated during her early years of practice, had been gradually depleted to keep the doors open for patients who needed care. Several of her regular patients asked about the emergency visit they had witnessed. Curious about the well-dressed visitors who had arrived during the storm, Dr. Cayetano maintained her professional discretion, sharing only that she had treated someone who needed immediate cardiac care. Patient confidentiality was a sacred principle she had never violated, regardless of the circumstances or the identities involved. The monsoon season continued, with its predictable pattern of afternoon thunderstorms and evening downpours. Dr. Cayetano had learned to work around the weather, scheduling procedures during the morning hours when power was more reliable and keeping emergency supplies easily accessible. Her dedication to maintaining the clinic's operations never wavered, even during the most challenging conditions. As she reviewed her financial records one evening, Dr. Cayetano calculated that she could keep the clinic operational for perhaps another 6 months without additional funding. The reality of potentially closing the practice weighed heavily on her mind, knowing that her patients would have nowhere else to turn for affordable medical care. Yet she remained determined to find a solution that would allow her to continue serving the community. 3 weeks after the stormy night emergency, Dr. Cayetano was conducting her usual evening clinic hours when she heard familiar voices outside. The conversation was animated and included several people, which was unusual for the typically quiet evening hours. She paused in her examination of a young patient with a minor injury, listening as the voices grew closer to the clinic entrance. The door opened to reveal Booboy, the same well-dressed companion from the emergency visit, but this time he was accompanied by a larger group of people. Behind him stood her former patient, looking healthy and energetic, a dramatic improvement from his condition 3 weeks earlier. Dr. Cayetano felt immediate relief seeing his recovery, but wondered about the purpose of this unexpected return visit. The group included several individuals carrying professional cameras and recording equipment, along with what appeared to be official representatives from various organizations. Dr. Cayetano felt suddenly self-conscious about the clinic's modest appearance, realizing that these visitors came from a very different world than her usual patients. The contrast between their professional attire and her worn medical coat was stark. Her former patient stepped forward with a warm smile, explaining that he had returned to express his gratitude properly and to ensure that Dr. Cayetano understood the full impact of her life-saving care. His demeanor was different now, more confident and authoritative, yet still maintaining the humble respect she remembered from their first encounter. He seemed to carry himself with the bearing of someone accustomed to being in positions of responsibility. As the group settled into the small waiting area, Dr. Cayetano began to sense that this visit carried significance beyond a simple follow-up appointment. The presence of cameras and official-looking individuals suggested that something important was about to unfold, though she couldn't imagine what role she might play in whatever was being planned. The patient she had treated during that stormy night stepped forward and, with genuine emotion in his voice, revealed his true identity. He was Manny Pacquiao, the legendary boxer and former senator whose fame and influence extended far beyond the Philippines. Dr. Cayetano felt momentarily stunned, realizing that she had unknowingly treated one of her country's most celebrated figures without recognizing him in his moment of medical crisis. Manny explained how her compassionate care during his cardiac episode had not only saved his life, but had also reminded him of the selfless dedication that existed in communities across the Philippines. He had spent the weeks since his recovery investigating Dr. Cayetano's work in the community, learning about her years of providing free medical care and her clinic's financial struggles. Her unwavering commitment to serving others, regardless of their ability to pay, had deeply moved him. With tears in his eyes, Manny announced that he was providing Dr. Cayetano with a substantial financial gift to ensure her clinic's operations for years to come. The amount was enough to purchase new medical equipment, maintain a steady supply of medications, and provide her with a modest but stable income. Additionally, he arranged for regular deliveries of medical supplies and established connections with pharmaceutical companies willing to support her mission. Dr. Cayetano found herself overwhelmed with emotion as she realized the implications of this generous gift. Her clinic would not only survive but thrive, allowing her to expand her services and reach even more patients in need. The financial security meant she could focus entirely on medical care rather than worrying about keeping the lights on and the doors open. As news of Manny's gesture spread through the neighborhood, residents began gathering outside the clinic to witness this extraordinary moment. Many of Dr. Cayetano's patients, young and old, expressed their joy at knowing their beloved doctor would continue caring for their community. The scene became a celebration of both medical dedication and the power of recognizing unsung heroes. Dr. Cayetano's years of quiet service had finally received the recognition and support it deserved, ensuring that her mission of compassionate healthcare would continue for generations to come.